All right. I'm here to watch the show live. I was going to get all fancy for y'all, but I'm tired. I've had a very long day. And there's stuff like all over my computer screen. It's disgusting. I think I'd work that out by now, but so far it is the intro. I'm gonna skip the intro. Out of here. Skip the intro. I don't like my camera angles. I should have plugged up my real camera. I have a real camera, y'all. But it's over there. It's over there. We're skipping the intro. I guess skipping the intro. Let's see. Let me turn my volume off on my phone. Okay. So I watched this episode last night. But last night I was live streaming on another channel. And so I was trying to live stream, and then I was behind 15 minutes. And then I was trying to watch, comment, and then I was on another channel trying to mod while I was trying to watch this. So I didn't really have a chance to really like watch it, you know. So that's what sucks. So now I'm trying to turn my ringtones off. So now I have a chance to really watch it. Yikes, this is scary. Those orcs be looking savage. Savage, yo. I would say Ismael Cruz Cordova is my dude. It's my dude. It's the only scenes my daughter likes to watch. She just likes to watch the scenes with him in it. She just like, yay. Team Elf. She been Team Elf, but she really Team Elf now. My work never sleeps. Okay, he's getting a chain put on him. Of course, spoiler alert, there's going to be spoilers. Oh, his little elf watch buddies. It's like, hey, what you doing here? Ooh. Everybody got caught. And my drink is over there. I'm not a good streamer. So it looks like they're digging a trench or a pathway kind of underneath the ground. I guess this is how they move about. It's Galadriel. Girl. She looks straight up ratchet. She done been on a ship. Her blowout is all messed up. Girl, that blowout is messed up, girl. Mm-mm-mm. I hate to see her hair be looking ratchet like this. Some ratchet hair. She eating. She like her. And people be telling me they don't like Galadriel. I don't have any issues with her. Like, people was calling her a Mary Sue and a Karen. I was like, Galadriel's a bona fide badass. Like, she's not like just some, oh, I'm just some basic bitch elf. She's a bona fide badass. So she got one of the rings of power. Spoiler alert. She didn't get one of the rings of power for no reason. She got the rings of power because she's a bona fide badass. And she's been around a long time for a lot of things, seen a lot of stuff. So yeah, they act like she was just some regular elf. Like, Galadriel's the GOAT. When she was talking about, when she stood up and was like, back to the shadows, you have no power here. I was like, oh shit. I was like, what? She's told Sauron to get back. I said, child, you gotta have some power to do that. She ain't no just regular elf. And she says this in the series later on that, and people are like, well, why did she have to say that? I was like, because there's people who are watching this shit that it was like, who is she? Bossing everybody around and being mean. They had, you better put some respect on her name. Put some respect. And Isildur's father, like, I'm not good with names, but Isildur's father, these ships are absolutely beautiful. Numinor is absolutely stunning. Like, I had to pause it and just look and be like, ooh, I could have a little apartment right there. Ooh. It made me want to actually live in Numinor. Like, I don't like the Numinorians because they're a bunch of whiny, they're a bunch of jerks. Well, they're jerks. You can figure that out. But the statues and to see everything like at the height of its glory and the richness, it's so beautiful. Let's see, what part am I at? Because I know some other people got little timers and clocks. I am at 7:35 right now in the time, just in case you're watching this later and you're like, where's she at? What's she watching? 7:35 is where I'm at right now. So 7 minutes and 35 seconds into the show and counting. I mean, it's glorious. Like, to see the statues. I just like, yeah. Numenor has a whole like legend and a whole backstory. And it has to do with the elves and the Valinor, and people are like, who are the Valinor? Like this show, for people to complain about not having a lot of lore, if you don't know the lore, I think I would be really confused if I watched this show. I don't know anyone who watches the shit that I watch. So everybody I know like watches like, Real Housewives and 90 Day Fiance. I don't have friends that watch stuff like this, except for my online people. So I think some of y'all like are in these echo chambers and these Reddit groups. I'm not in any Facebook groups, Reddit groups. Now, House of the Dragon, I have people that I kick it with online. I know content creators. I know two content creators of like big content creators. But most of it's just, they do movies. And a few people I know do House of the Dragon. I only know one content, like one content creator that does. I won't name this person, but they have a pretty large channel, and they do House of the Dragon. And they like it, and they've received all kinds of like hate and backlash, and then there's channels that I subscribe to, but yeah, I know people I have friends who have big channels. Like, I'm talking about like 500,000, like 500,000. And then I don't know any people in real life, like in my real everyday life, that watches sci-fi and fantasy. So I think I tell people all the time that the internet is not real life. It's not real life. It's not. Twitter and YouTube is not real life. It's not my real life. In real life, nobody I know watches this shit. They were like, matter of fact, my sister-in-law was like, there's a Lord of the Rings show? Dude, really? It's like, yeah, there's a Lord of the Rings show. What? When did that happen? I was like, girl, you know what? Never mind. So yeah, I mean, most people I know, they watch a lot of reality TV. They don't watch a lot of sci-fi. Numenor is gorgeous. It's absolutely positively beautiful. Like, it has a very Greek revival, and then it has a very Middle Eastern feel to it. Aesthetic, I would say. Oh, and there's the white tree. Oh, the white tree looks really, 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 really nice. Nice. That white tree is looking sick. This is a sexy white tree. There's a whole history and lore behind that too. And Halliburton, I don't know what's up with him. The dude that's with Galadriel, I don't know. He's okay, but and there's something up with him because his guard looked at him like he recognized him. He looked at him like, I know who this dude is. So Halliburton is somebody, even though he looks like a vagabond, but it's not. And there's my girl, Queen Muriel. She is the girl. Cosplay time, because Queen Muriel was looking slay. I love this actress. I love the fact, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm not even pretending to even lie, that there's a black woman queen that's not a queen of Africa or not in an African setting, which we don't really get that representation either. We're rarely represented. There's plenty of queens in the history of the continent. There are plenty of just throughout history. And Cleopatra wasn't black, by the way. People were like, Cleopatra. No, she was like mostly Greek, and probably her mom probably was Egyptian, but there's no real evidence. So I'm not claiming Cleopatra, y'all. I'm not. I don't want Cleopatra to be black. She was probably most likely an olive skin or a Greek. That's just real talk, real history. But there are plenty of queens throughout history. There's Queen Candace. I don't know why there's not a history based on Queen Candace. If you know her in the Bible, there's Queen Sheba, which had an affair with Solomon and all that. But Queen Candace in the Bible, she's also in the Quran. And I'm sure people who are from the Middle East know about her, but people in America are like, who? But she was a bona fide badass as well, and a warrior queen during the biblical days. And I would love to see that be brought. She told Galadriel, "I welcome you to try, bitch. Try me, bitch. I'm here for it."
My friend, it seems to me that I will some complications.
Halliburton is cute, but he just needs a bath and like a flea dip and a shave. But I love their costumes. I really love their costumes.
A few days.
And I like Muriel's crown. It is slayed to it's slayed. She's working. It's nice. Nice. I look so washed out. And I have horrible like 18th century, 1852 lighting. I have to excuse my lighting. Normally I'm in a lit place with a nice ring camera. But today I was like, oh yeah, I'm in my PJs today. This is good witch, bad witch. I'm always a bad witch. Galadriel, I was like, girl, when she got some clothes on, I was like, thank God. She's really sitting around. Oh, he hugged that dude. Like, he hugged him. I just realized he hugged him. And the guy was like, okay. Like, why are you hugging me? Like, what are you doing?
This is a paradise, right? But as you can see, you really expect me to leap with you back into the fun?
You leapt into the sea to save one life. I seek to save many.
I have been searching for that.
And like I said, I don't understand the things about Galadriel. I don't get it. She's driven. I mean, what I was saying in the first episode, when her troops are like, we just want to go home, and she's like, I know how you feel. I want to go home too. Galadriel don't want to go home. And that hit me hard because the look on her face was like, I'm just telling you this, but I really don't. And then when she was home with the elves, she was just kind of like, but that happens when you lose somebody. I know for a fact through loss, when you lose somebody and you have to go home, you don't want to go home. You don't want to go home. Like, and especially with her, where she's on hell bent on revenge. That's the last thing you want to do is go home and face everybody and then give up the fight. It's a classic literary trope. I mean, it's like Captain Ahab. It's like, how many shows do they have, sci-fi, fiction, and otherwise, where there's somebody who's trying to warn everybody that Michael Myers is still alive? He's still alive, and they're like, "Shut up, old man!" There's always one person that's like, "He's coming back." Like Lori in Halloween, she was like, "His bitch ass is coming back," and they're like, "Shut up, Lori, you crazy," or "Shut up, Captain Ahab, there ain't no whale out there," It's just a trope. I can't believe people watch the show and I can see the tropes, the Joseph Campbell ness. The way I look at things is like, okay, that's a trope. That's used very often, of the crazy driven nutter person who nobody believes. It's a trope. Now, Isildur being a sailor, that's a choice. That's a choice I don't know if I really agree with, but it's a choice. Like I don't. The ships are beautiful, and the costuming that they wear is, I mean, it's great. Like I said, the CGI for the ships is, the CGI is top notch. Like people trying to say the CGI was a little off. I was like, have you watched House of the Dragon? Okay, look, I love sea smoke like the rest of you people, but that CGI was wonky. That CGI was like green screen. House of the Dragon. I'm not getting mad at anybody for not having, you know. I know they spent $700 million, but CGI is CGI. I know they spend a lot of money, but you can tell they spend a lot of money. I'm not faulting them because the warg looked a little wonky and people were nitpicking. I was like, why is people nitpicking this show? And the people are nitpicking the show. I'm like, have you watched Game of Thrones? Do you not understand that in the Game of Thrones, by the time season 4 came, it was like the book went this way and the show went all the way that way. Like, I was like, don't watch Game of Thrones. You're going to be disappointed. I never read the books, the Game of Thrones, but I know the lore. But Game of Thrones went left. All right, whichever. From season 4. By season 4 came, I know there's some people who stopped watching, but they totally just took our outline and just started making things up. And they took out characters and killed off people and did things. So I told people, I said, I don't know any movie or show or IP or anything that is very lore accurate. Even Marvel and DC are not source material accurate. They change things on comics all the time. They rewrite whole characters. They merge characters together, create new characters, kill people off. The movies are so wholly inconsistent. And the DC is even inconsistent with the TV shows. Like what goes on with Arrow and the Flash and the whole CW universe. Nothing like the DC comics, nothing like the DC movies. And people just learn to accept it. They learn to just be like, well, fuck it, So I'm just going to need Lord of the Rings fans to be like, well, fuck it. Yeah, because your IP is really no different than Star Wars or Marvel or Star Trek or whatever. That's just, I don't understand why we can't have J.R.R. Tolkien and his works be in different mediums. There should be animated shows or animated movie. There should be other books, comic books, TV shows, just like anything else. I'm a diehard Marvel fan. I got over that shit a long time ago. I know damn well I'm not gonna get the X-Men of my dreams. I didn't suffer through 4 damn X-Men movies. 4. 4. Dark Phoenix. That was enough. That was enough heartbreak. Dark Phoenix, I literally watched that movie for 20 minutes. It was like, well, moving on. I didn't like the Bryan Singer films. I didn't like none of it. I'm still waiting. Hopefully Kevin Feige can give us our X-Men movie that we deserve. But I just got over it. I understand that there's this X-Men and that X-Men and then the House of X and then 10 and then okay. Just pick whatever one you like and just go with it. So I wish the same thing with Lord of the Rings. Pick whatever shit you like and just go with it. There's always the source material. There'll always be the X-Men jumbo comics that I was carrying around as a 10-year-old. It's always going to exist. The X-Men cartoon to me is my introduction in hardcore canon. It's not even, the comics are so all over the place. But I just learned to go with it. I love C.S. Lewis and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Okay. But them other movies, nah. I'm still crossing my fingers and hoping for Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and that whole series to be done in a good, spectacular way, whether it be a TV show, a movie, animation, or something. Whether I'm going to get it or not, I don't know. But I'm not going to hold on to okay, well, this doesn't match. I said, there's no show on the planet I can think where the lore matches. Us Game of Thrones fans, we got over this shit a long time ago. After season 4, we were over. We were just like, this shit don't match the books. Okay. Is it good? Is it acted right? House of the Dragon, we know Alicent and Rhaenyra weren't best friends. Fuck it. What are you going to do? Some people like it. Some people don't like it. Oh, well. Yeah, they're going to add things to it. We just, like I said, Game of Thrones fans, we understand that. We've moved on. We just understand that. So they've left Numinor. And like I said, I the first part I really watched. The second half of this is where I kind of like didn't. I am up to 21 minutes and 25 seconds right now. Arondir, you are thirst trapping me so hard. You are just thirst trapping me to shit. That is a good looking man. That is a good looking man, and a out of all the channels I've seen, he is the most elf like. Everybody's like, oh, I was like, oh, so the black elf is the more elf like because he is thirst trapping me. Just got me on a thirst trap. Just can't help it. And the orcs look really, really good. They look good. I thought Peter Jackson's orcs were very, besides the big massive ones, I thought they were very one note. But I understand he's doing a movie with hundreds of extras, so you do you. But the Peter Jackson orcs, they were good, but they were just, I wanted to see a bit more variety in the look of the orcs. But it was 21 years ago, so I ain't. And let me tell you about them Peter Jackson movies, why everybody's like all kissing their asses and reverent. I was there during Lord of the Rings. I wasn't 12 years old. I wasn't 10 years old. When Lord of the Rings came out 21 years ago, I was in my 20s. And I remember, this is before the internet, before Twitter. I remember how hard these movies were written, how people were skeptical and leery of Peter Jackson, how people were against the changes that he made. And there's a lot of revisionist history going on. People love the movies now because they came out, they made a lot of money, and they brought a lot of fans in and brought a lot of teenagers and teens and tweens and adults into the whole Middle Earth thing. But I distinctly remember that the Peter Jackson movies came out, or before they came out, people were like, no, hell to the no. You know, rumors went out and then people were talking about boycotting. I remember all of this stuff. And people now these days are like, oh, Peter Jackson's so perfect. And I'm like, that's not close to the lore either. They cut a bunch of shit out. They compress timelines and just cut a bunch. But people forget. Like, people have no sense of his historical memory. But I was there in my 20s. In the theater. I've seen the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings movie, and I sat there watching, going, "That's not how the book goes. This is not this." I looked at my husband and said, "What? This is not." But I saw Lord of the Rings, the first one, in the movie theater like 4 times. Like, I made my husband go. Well, he was my boyfriend at the time. I made him go. Then I made me and my sister-in-law, my future sister-in-law, go. And I made anybody I could tell. I was like, "You have to see this, is amazing." And a lot of people didn't even know what Lord of the Rings was. People were like, "What is that?" The last Lord of the Rings I saw was like a cartoon that was like in the 80s. It was a really bad cartoon. And I saw that horrible Hobbit cartoon too that I watched in school. But yeah, people didn't even know what any of this shit was. Like, a lot of us who had to study it in college, because I had to read Lord of the Rings in college. And so, and Lord of the Rings is a hard read. I don't care what anybody says. J.R. I have much people try to revere this man, and he was a good writer, and he created all of the fantasy tropes that people borrowed off of George R.R. Martin and all of them. They got all that shit from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and the Silmarillion. They stole all that shit. They just made it their own. Witcher and all that. So much respect to the great granddaddy of fantasy fiction. But I mean, let's be honest, Lord of the Rings is not an easy read. Even The Hobbit, even me reading it as a 12-year-old, was challenging. I mean, they put Lord of the Rings in English lit classes in college for a reason. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to digest, a lot to go through, and it's slow. And so, I tell people the Lord of the Rings books are not for everybody. For everybody to act like this is just for everybody and everybody's going to enjoy it. I know people who have only seen the movies, will only watch the movies, and will never pick up a book in their life, or tried to and was like, hell to the no. So these diehard fans talking about the source material in the book, and I'm like, who are these people? I don't really know a lot of people who've even read Lord of the Rings, who've read The Hobbit, who've read what is it, the Uncanny Tales, haven't read that, who haven't read the Silmarillion. I mean, I don't know anybody who even read that. Like I said, I move in college circles, and I've been to college and all that, and move in different literary circles, and it's just like, when I was a kid, we were required to read The Hobbit. My kids aren't required to read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or nothing. Not, I don't know any, at least not where I'm at. In Texas, they're not required to read it here. So my kids didn't even know what Lord of the Rings was until I made them watch one of the first movie. And then they were like, oh, that's cool. Then my daughter really liked it, but my son did not. He thought it was boring. He's like, this is boring. This is not 20 years ago. People just have different tastes. And I mean, the attention span of teenagers and tweens was not like it was 21 years ago before, social media and Twitter and everything. And now, Witcher, Game of Thrones have been out. There's been different fantasy shows. Audiences is just not the same anymore they were 20 years ago. There was a lot less for people to watch. Now you have Wheel of Time and Shadow of Bone. I watch it all. So for people to say that this series is slow, I get it. I really I get it. Because it compared to what people are used to, action, 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 effects, explosion, explosion, explosion. That's what people want to see, really. They want a good plot, they want a good story, but damn it, they want they love House of the Dragon because it's intrigue and betrayals and dragons and people like that. And Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth is not that. It's not Lord of the Rings. And I'm thank God every day after watching these 3 episodes that they did not turn Lord of the Rings into Game of Thrones light with just bodices and boobs and just cursing and sexing it up and nudity. Like that was just my fear. I was like, please don't turn this show into Game of Thrones 2.0. And they have not so far. Give me something that me and my kids we actually will watch this. I mean, again, my kids, they find it a little boring, but it's pretty to look at. They like, ooh, wow. And my daughter loves Lord of the Rings, but she finds this a bit boring. And it is what it is. Okay, he finds out he speaks Elvish.
It is still taught in our Hall of Law, still carved on statues throughout the city.
Hall of Law. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not briefed on the Numinorians and their history and their kings. I know they're a bunch of, spoiler alert, evil bastards, but well, I wouldn't say evil, but just I guess human beings being human beings, like And then people were ragging on this part. Galadriel and the dude riding the horse. And I guess in the lore, Galadriel was known as like a great horse rider. People's like, well, it's slow mo. It was cheesy. Like this is I understand why they put this in here because it's a beautiful sweeping scene. And people thought it was, well, they had a slow mo of the horse. This scene is literally what, like 5 seconds. But I like that she's smiling. Oh, look at her face. Oh, she's smiling. Oh, she likes the horse. Yeah, people like the slow-mo scene of Galadriel riding the horse. It's literally 5 seconds. I mean, it was kind of out of place and kind of corny, but to see her smile for once is, I guess, what was the point of the scene. But again, like I said, I don't have a problem with Galadriel. So she like I said, I'm giving her every kind of grace because she is one of my favorite characters. In the books and in the movies, she's one of my favorite characters. She's a bona fide. She's one of the few like standout female characters. And another thing about Peter Jackson movie, let me tell you another thing. People were mad at Arwen how much she was in the movie. I remember that was a big thing. They was mad because you know how Arwen come down there and she controls the water and she saves Frodo. People were mad about that. People were like, that's not how it in the books. Cause what was it? Who was it supposed to be? Celebrimbor or Gil Galahad? One of them, somebody. There was a elf dude that saved Frodo in the books, right? I remember people was upset that Arwen, why she have to save Frodo? That's not how it happened. She didn't do that. Blah blah. People were upset that they put Arwen in the movie, and if you see the extended version, because I have like the box DVDs that I got as a gift from my late husband when they first came out, so I have all the extended cuts and everything. And I remember how people were angry about that. So I'm like, people in their sacred, holy Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. I was like, child, they didn't even want Arwen in that motherfucker. They was like, why she in the movie so much? I was like, because we want to see Aragorn and Arwen because they trying to bring in women. Women want to see some romance in this shit. There's not a lot of romance that ain't tragic in Middle Earth. I'm sorry, there's not. There's just not a lot of successful relationships, especially between elves and men. So, people were, I just remember people were really upset about that. Well, Arwen, I was like, you people in your fucking Lord of the Rings, the movies were perfect and flawless. Somebody actually said that online. I was like, where? When 21 years ago, y'all was mad Arwen was in the movie. Y'all was upset. And I remember people also didn't like Cate Blanchett playing Galadriel. They honestly, I heard people say they didn't think she was beautiful enough. She's not Galadriel. She's too old. Like they were saying Cate Blanchett at the time was too old. 20 years ago. And I think 20 years ago, she was maybe in her 30s. She's a beautiful woman. Cate Blanchett ain't young. She's like 50 now or in her late 40s. And they said, well, she didn't look like Galadriel. She's not beautiful enough. I'm like, are you kidding me? And it's just all this revisionist history about how Lord of the Rings is so popular. It was popular when it came out and made like, I don't know, $500 million. I'm being glib, but it made a lot of money. And it started to pick up steam and people started to go see it. And it spread word of mouth. But no, all those Tolkien purists was all over Peter Jackson's ass. Oh, I don't like this part when they get into a bar fight. I don't understand that this part is unnecessary to me. Isildur's sister is unnecessary unless she plans to play some role later on. But I don't know why they added, he's supposed to have a brother and not a sister. So I figured that somehow she's going to figure into the plot later on. I don't like Halliburton or whatever this dude's name is. He's okay, but this fight scene is unnecessary and stupid. I thought it was like, is this like The Witcher? Toss a coin to the Witcher, because The Witcher's always getting his ass whooped. Somebody's always trying to fight him. But then he totally like goes Super Saiyan on their asses. And so Halliburton isn't a Gary Stew? Because I'm like, he sure is whooping everybody's ass. And so nobody complains about that. Oh, he broke his arm. Oh my God. I felt that. Yikes. So no one's complaining that Halliburton just beat up like 6 dudes. No one's complaining. No one's complaining. I ain't heard one person online like, Halliburton just beat up 6 dudes. Like, that's believable. Shit, he's human. How the fuck he beat up 6 dudes? He's not a Gary. Okay. He survived the whole ship and he beat up 6 dudes. Okay. Yeah. But Galadriel fighting is just, that's too much. But this dude whooping people's ass like he Terminator. All right. That part, that scene is stupid. I love this scene in the library. This is gorgeous. It's beautiful. This is beautiful. Okay, now we're getting to the part that, I haven't seen is this part. Elros is Elrond's brother who decided to be human because Elrond and Elros are half human and half elf. And I always found it fascinating that I want to know the story behind him choosing to be human. I wanted to see that being played out in a movie. That conversation had to be awkward. Like, oh, I'm just going to be human and live for 500 years and then die. Is loyal. So the king, the real king, is like on lockdown somewhere. This guy looks like a maester. Don't trust him. He's shifty. He looks like a maester.
What is this?
The account of a human spy retrieved from an enemy dungeon. This.
So there's a human spy. I wonder who that spy was. See, this is kind of shit I'll be thinking about.
Wait a minute.
It's like, girl, that's not a sigil. That's some mountains and a river or a thing. Southie. You damn Southies. Your corruptedness. Southlands and your corruptedness. Yeah. God, I hate this lighting. I'm sorry, y'all. I feel like it's 1853 up in here.
What you not only endure, but thrive. Plan to be enacted in the event of Morgoth's defeat.
Yeah. Team Sauron. Hashtag Team Sauron. Hashtag Witch King. Hashtag Team Villain. Hashtag the Valinor ain't shit. I'm just going heel section over here, baby. I like the villains. I'm the Dark Lord all the way. I'm supporting every Dark Lord. But the elves are all right. Elves are really my favorite. She's like, they're going to take over this whole damn thing. So all of Middle Earth going to get got. And I said, these forests and these trees, like I can feel it. Like I can, as a person who came from a tree filled ass land, I can just smell. Oh, I love it. I love the Harfoots. I love them. There is something very naturistic and witchy about them that I love. I love anything witchy. I love anything that's very. I love the fact that they wear things in their hair and lots of straw and lots of dancing. It's very ritualistic. It's very Neo-European. It's very Native American. It's very Celtic. It's all those things. It's very African. It's African Bushman. It's everything. Like when you see stuff like this and it's reflected in history, and you see that different cultures do the same shit, basically, and kind of have the same rights and the traditions. There's thread lines through different lands and different countries of different rights and rites of passage. There's different costuming, just depending on what environment that they're in. They wear leaves in their hair. I love all of that. I love that aesthetic. I love it. And I love that they live off the earth, that the earth is their home, that they're nomads and they move around. That is very Indian, African, Asian. There's always been, in every single one of these continents, there's always been some kind of migratory people. And usually those migratory peoples are the ones that are the toughest and survive. Anytime any wars break out, the people who migrate, who move around, sometimes they suffer from famine and they get wiped out in wars, but the migratory lifestyle has been going on since humanity sprung up from this wonderful, beautiful planet of ours. And I just love the Harfoots. I love them. And I love what is it, Poppy? Or is it Brandy? It's Brandy and Poppy. People are like, oh, they're like Frodo and Sam. I was like, okay, I guess, but not really to me. Just because one's a little thick, because Poppy is thick, thickums. She got a little junk in the trunk. And yes, the Harfoots are supposed to be brown. Tolkien wrote it himself, that the Harfoots, that there's like 3 different prototypes of that make up hobbits. There's like the Harfoots, something and something. I watch out if you subscribe to Broken Shield, the Broken Sword. The Broken Sword is the channel that I love, and they're fair in their synopsis of the show and very welcoming and very kind. And they're from London, from England somewhere. And they did a whole thing about hobbits and where they came from and what are the 3 prototypes. And Harfoots are supposed to be the shortest and the brownest. And one of the many prototypes that converged and had babies that make up what we know as hobbits and like Lord of the Rings. Poppy be telling them.
And you can borrow some of mine rather throw some star turds into that book instead. And you're going to help me. Or would you rather I let slip to Melba? It was you who fired into a token.
No. She basically blackmailed her. That's what friends do, though, girl. You know, if you ain't blackmailing your friend, y'all are not best friends. I gotta sit back because my back is bad. See this picture up here? This is Game of Thrones. If you look up further, you'll see my scimitar. It's on my wall. I collect swords. I'm a weapons person. I love weapons. Been collecting weapons since I was 15. Thank God. People are like, you scared to sleep with a scimitar? Nah, not at all. I know somebody breaking my house. I'm ready for their asses. I got a gun and I got a gun and I got all kinds of weapons in my house. I'm never too far away from something sharp or something shooty. So you can try me if you want to. They gonna run out this house. And Lenny Henry is in this show. And I don't know his character, but he plays the black dude, the Harfoot. And he's like I guess a seer or a soothsayer or a wise man or whatever he is. Magical Negro, whatever you want to call him. Baby, let me quit. But he's like a comedian, like a really, really famous comedian in England, Lenny Henry. He's been on a lot of TV shows. He's very well known. I recognized him immediately. I was like, that's that one dude from that one show. I watch a lot of Britcoms.
Just a little less.
Just tell them I'm almost ready.
Right. No, I mean, left.
Left.
I'll tell him right now. I'll go straight now.
He like, right now we're at 42:55. 42 minutes and 55 seconds into the show.
Strange girl, that one.
I love the Harfoots. Are so cute and so kind and trusting. Oh, it's sweet.
Agreeable, honorable, Harfoot. Though the season has passed in this glade, leaving us with full carts.
I love this part. Is a remembering. It gets me right here. I think everybody should do this, like gather with their family together and just be like, we remember such and such, and they passed away this way. Remember such. I lost my aunt 2 months ago. I lost my dad last year. I've lost my husband. So to see this part got me. It's still right now. It just give me a little get your girl Kiki a little choked up. I'm not such a hard bitch all the time.
Who fell behind? And should any Harfoot fall behind this migration, they likewise will be carried with us in our hearts and in our memories.
It's very sweet. And people were like, did they just leave people behind or do they fall behind? And I'm like, when you're in a civilization or a village or a people where you're migrating around, speed and stealth and being able to hide and be able to be quick is survival. Like the idea that you have to stop and get somebody in the back or stop and help somebody because they fell down or something. A lot of these migratory civilizations, that wasn't possible. Like you just had to go. Like you don't know what animals or people or whoever is going to be hunting you. So people got left behind. You just pray that they do catch up. You're like, look, we're going over that hill over yonder, down that valley by that stream. And if you fall behind, that's where we're going to be. And so if you make it, if you fall behind, we'll see you. That's where we're going to be for the next 2 days. We're going to, load up and everything and if you don't make it, then we're going to be at this next point. So yeah, that's a very accurate thing with the caravan. It sounds cold, but it's like the survival of the collective is more important than one person or one family. But it's sad though. And they say the person's that, like I said, to me, that just gave me the feels. I don't know what's up with this stranger dude. So I don't know if he's a blue wizard. I think he's a blue wizard. I hope he's not Gandalf. Please don't let him be Gandalf. Like I can see them making him Gandalf because that's what the fans really want. That's what the casual fans are like, fuck it, bring us Gandalf, you know. But for me, I would rather have him be a blue wizard, which is a thing, which you don't know what that is. There are other wizards like Gandalf. He's, you know, someone said a Balrog. I don't know. Someone said Saruman. I don't really, I don't know. But he obviously has power. Oh, he just set this shit on fire. Blow on it, dude. Stomp on it. Oh no, he didn't burn up the whole damn thing. Oh my god. And they couldn't see him in the background. Oh, okay. All right, y'all couldn't see him back there. Just his big old ass. Just he like 10 foot tall. Y'all down here. Yeah. They like, what's that noise? What was that down there? What is that feel? They're like, oh shit. It's a demon. And I like how they all hide. I like how they're all like, bitch. I love it how I just noticed that. They all hide. Like that's their natural reaction. It's like when you're that little and you can't fight and you don't have any weapons, your best weapons is your ability to hide. And I that's cute. I just noticed that they're all like, no. Out of here. So that's their natural inclination to hide. Kind of like animals, you know. There's some species of animals that they burrow and they hide. I always thought hobbits were like that, especially when they like to be underneath the earth. Oh, Brandy's in trouble, girl. You finna get it.
What was I supposed to do? Leave him there?
You must admit, son, it's quite extraordinary. Have you ever heard tell of beings falling from the stars? I heard of beings who were turned into stars. Never the other way around.
He said, I know beings that turn into stars, not the other way around.
What did they mean?
Nothing. The pages were all burnt up. Why didn't you bother to read them?
We have time later. Who's we? No.
Who's we? Nobody. She dry snitching. Girl, don't be dry snitching on Poppy, girl. Don't bring her. Probably like keep my name out your motherfucking mouth, yo.
Good little hearted. Six in the past week, every danger, heaven forbid. We explore something new. Eleanor, Halliburton, Brandyfoot. Our ways kept us alive 1,000 years.
Her name's Brandyfoot.
Our laws are clear. Any half-foot that breaks them is to be.
There's always one bitch who's like, you break the rules, you need to go. You need to go get.
Our laws are clear.
Look. I love her face. Her face like. Her bitch's face. That bitch is giving face in this show. She is acting her ass off. She like.
Tomorrow we depart as planned.
Oh no.
The Brandyfoot cart will be with us.
So he's like, we can't just leave them behind. It's bad enough the dad broke his leg, and the way the dad broke his leg, I'm just like, I didn't fracture my ankle before, but it didn't break like that. It's like that leg look like it need to be amputated, child. Ooh, child. They need to get the saw out and cut that hoe off because that was gruesome. Ooh. The way it broke, it was like the breaks in this show. The dude arm, the dad's foot. I was like, whoo. Woo, somebody gonna need to cut that off. Woo. Woo.
Sisters were still in touch, is that it? You think you're special? You're just a child.
You're just a child.
No, I'm not special. I know I'm just one little Harper in a grand, wide world.
She's a little Harfoot in a big world trying to make it.
Never has your heart been like your father's. But the tallest milkweed gets nipped.
Oh wow.
Start back.
Oh, she just wants to do something different with her life. She's about to live in her best life. I made to plug my computer up. You'd think I would have been prepared for that too. I wasn't prepared for that either. It's my first live. This puppet show is creepy as fuck. I don't care what name. This puppet show is weird.
Never mind what she's the skirt of. Why is she in Numinor?
So Galadriel got a reputation. Scourge of the orcs. Bad bitch of Middle Earth. It's a bad bitch.
You walked in and out, somebody else promoted you.
Yeah, Isildur's sister. What? Why are you here? Why? What? Just they better have something really grand planned for her, because so far she's a big character that don't need to be there. Like Isildur had a brother, he didn't have a sister, and so I'm just like, why did they create a sister? I don't. This just seems unnecessary. Or in a lot of casting choices,
But I listened on occasion, so yeah.
whose girlfriend are you? That's what I say. Whose girlfriend is she? Who was like, babe, I'm gonna put you in this show. Ooh, girl, I'm gonna put you in this show. I'm gonna make you a star. I'm gonna create this character just for you. Isildur's, you're gonna be Isildur's sister. Oh my God. Because folks be doing shit like that in Hollywood. Y'all don't know. There's a lot of characters in Hollywood that were created just because they need to give some girlfriend or boyfriend or cousin or friend a role. So I would be surprised if she was related to somebody and they was just like, just give her a chance to create this role. Just blah, blah, blah. I should have had my crown. I'm gonna get that Muriel crown. I'm gonna go online and just yeah.
When you got into a scrap with the Queen's girl. Hey, stuff, what got thrown out of your horse trade? That wasn't my fault.
Actually, it feels right now.
I wasn't talking to you.
He said I wasn't talking to you. It's like me and my kids. I wasn't talking to you. I had a boy and girl same way. I wasn't talking to you. They try to get in there, but mom did it. I wasn't talking to you. And Isildur, he seems very young and lost. Like he doesn't want to sail on this damn ship. And like I said, Isildur being on the ship is a choice. So all I can say about that is a choice. It's a choice I wouldn't have made. I would have made him do something else a bit cooler, or maybe they just wanted to spend money on the CGI. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll go on some sailing adventures. Just give them an excuse to go out in the shivering seas or whatever. But that's a choice. It's a choice. I don't know what kind of choice it is, but it's a choice. She's in the Builders Guild, so she made apprentice. So I hope that they do something with that, because that's a choice. It's a choice for her to even be here in the show, and it's a choice for Isildur to be a boat person. Yeah, that's a choice. I don't like boat stuff. I don't like pirate shows. I don't like pirate ships. The statue, I don't know what the hell this statue is, but it is laid and slayed. That is some CGI. I don't think people really noticed how beautiful that statue was. That statue was like everything for me. I don't even know what the hell the statue is even of, but it was some lady with beautiful billowy hair, and she's like this, and her hair is like this, and I was just like, that's CGI. Some good CGI art. I appreciate the CGI masters behind this show, because the detail to the aesthetic and the artwork is something I've never seen before in my life. Like I've never seen this kind of detail. The tapestries and the paintings and the rugs on the floor. These are things that I all notice, and I'm just like, I know that shit is all CGI. I mean, somebody was like on YouTube creating ambient worlds like a motherfucker. That's an inside joke. If y'all watch some YouTube ambient videos where it's like raining and it's like a bedroom, people create all that shit. These people right here, they need to create all kinds of ambient rings of power bedrooms, rain and shit. I want to see somebody go in there. I'm telling people, let me talk to you for a second. You YouTube CGI ambient video creators, I need y'all to get on this rings of power shit. Try to create some of these rooms, because I would turn it on and just fall asleep. I just want to be in Numinor so bad. And so she's trying to talk him while he's sitting up in jail. Like, You need to come help me, dude. There's something about that symbol that he's just like, it's either familiar or it's around his neck. Yeah.
Be careful.
Hallerin.
The heir to this mark is yet to more than just It was his ancestor who swore a blood oath to Mordor. I got the hero, you see.
They swore a blood oath.
It was my family who lost the war.
And it was mine who started. I was no chance seed. Not fate, nor destiny.
Okay, I see how Halliburton is going to come into this. I mean, I don't see it, but I understand why he's here now. His family swore an oath.
You must see it.
All I see is that of the darkness.
Come with me to Middle Earth. And together we will redeem both our bloodlines.
No. We're stuck on this island.
Uh-oh.
We're still short enough.
Good point. He's like, bitch, you still stuck here.
About to change.
Okay, I want to know more about his bloodline and what does that mean? His family swore a blood oath. Huh. Interesting. Oh, Numinor, you're so beautiful. Like at night, I could just be like, I could just see myself sitting outside on a staircase, just sitting here like this with my kids, just looking out. The white tree. Hanging out with Muriel. Hey, girl. Hey, we're besties. Me and Muriel could be besties. Like, girl, we besties, girl, right?
Not which we feared.
Uh-uh.
The elf has arrived.
Oh, no, there's a prophecy with the elf is going to arrive. Oh, shit. You know what? Muriel, I hope you don't turn out to be a hater. I need to brush up on my Numinor lore. Is Muriel a hater? Is she the one that the niece of Arfarazon or whatever? I need to brush up on my Numenorian history and lore. I need to brush up on that. I always thought the Numenorians were such dicks. Oh, they're trying to get their little cart up the hill. They push it.
Go on, hurry, you're far behind.
Oh,
Just give me a moment to get my breath under.
What's his party? Oh my god. Yeah, have it. Oh look, have his big ass push the car. There you go. Right. And then the dude that plays him, I had to walk around the show so far with just your shirt and your belly and your hair and chest and your goodies, just your big old flabby cherry chest out. That's a look. It's a whole look. That's a gag. That's a whole look. That's a whole. I don't know. I'm kind of digging the stranger, like in some kind of weird, I don't know. There's something about him that's just a little thirst trappy to me. I don't know. He kind of got a six pack. Like, oh god, why damn straight. They're like, can we bring him? Mom, can we keep him? Like he's a dog. And the look on his face is a mixture of confusion, pain, horror. Like that dude's doing. I don't know who this dude is, but he's doing some good face. He's giving good face right now. For him to not really have any of the sensible lines, like his face is like very expressive, and they have all that beard, and his eyes is very expressive. And then the orcs don't like the sun. They're like, and that is canon. The orcs don't like the sun. I like the fact that orcs have these really cool clothes. I want to see elves fight everybody. I just want to see elves versus every fucking body. Just elves, just I want to see elves fight. Like we've seen them like in war with like swords and bow and arrows and leglet. I want to see. I think I just saw some half orc ass in here. Wait a minute, I need to rewind. I just saw orc naked ass somewhere in here. Like I just want to see elves. I just want to see what elves can do in a fight. I've seen them with swords. I've seen them with bows and arrows. I just want to see what what elves can do, like really, really fighting. Which is that's what I want to see. But I like this scene. I think this scene is good. And people were like, and then like when I was watching the Broken Sword, they were like, well, why does the elf have to do that? I'm like, why was Legolas like surfboard riding down some stairs and killing like 10 orcs? Like, they're elves. They're supposed to be light on their feet. You gotta have some kind of action in this show. Somebody gotta be getting their ass kicked. Somebody gotta be kicking their ass. You know, you can't have a show where they're just like stabby. I want to see some flipping. I want to see some. I want to see elves do their thing. And they did the baby warg. People are hating on the warg. I think it's kind of cute. And like his eyes are real crazy. Like the warg's eyes are like. I think it's cute. Oh God, maybe my kids shouldn't watch this show. Holy shit. With the baby warg, he's like, oh shit, you are. Have you ever talked about the CGI? I don't know what people be seeing. Maybe people are digital artists. I don't know what people see. To me, the CGI looks good to me. I don't know. I come from an age of crappy CGI and an age of a lot of practical effects. Like, to me, CGI is always amazing to me. This warg, they didn't just hit him in the head. But you know that warg, he came out as a baby warg. He looks a little tortured. Do I need to call like the Middle Earth SPCA? Oh, he stabbed that dude in the neck. That's my dude. Run. Run and go tell everybody, have them send help. Yeah, and people was like going in on the scene where the warg gets stabbed. It didn't look janky to me. It looks all right to me. I got a big old 65-inch screen TV and it looked good to me. Oh my God, what happened? No. Oh no, there go all his elf, his peeps. His cat. Oh my God. What is his name? Calico? No. Where them arrows come from though? Like, who shot them? They must have like orcs around. Poor Arondir. They said, wait. They're gonna cut his head off. Adar. Who? Who is Adar? Who? What? Okay. You know he a badass when they chanting his name. Whoever this is, his glove kind of looks like the Witch King. Ooh, Witch King. Hey, Team Witch King. Witch King's one of my favorites. Adar. I don't know. Adar kind of looks like. He looks like an elf to me. A dark elf. An elf that turned. Is that it? Is that the end of the show? What? He just gonna end on a Rings of Power. What? How you just gonna end on a cliffhanger? Okay, I think they're gonna show the preview for next week's episode. You just gonna end like that? I don't want to know who Adar is. They were like, Adar. He looks like an elf to me. Maybe he was corrupted. I don't have a problem with a corrupted elf. Because isn't that how they make orcs? Orcs are like men, elves, and
His people are scattered, leaders, calling you to finish the task.
Go past in the old pipe. Just to you and me alone.
oh, Theo. He says, "Who are you?" Speaking Quenya? What is that? Quenya. So let's see what Quenya is. It's like some elfin language. I'm not briefed on the languages. I don't know who Adar is. That is interesting. I haven't read any Kenya's many Elvish language spoken by the immortal elves called the Qindai or Quenya. So Arendelle is speaking Quenya. Um, interesting. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So I guess us is symbolic of a high status of the elves, firstborn. Okay. So it's like some kind of high so Quenya, or I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's the elvish language of the immortal. Okay. All right. All right. So it's in Lord of the Rings and it's in Morellian. Okay. I'm not briefed on my elfish. Sorry, y'all. Um, um, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see next week who Adar is. Adar. They was chanting his name like he was a boss. He's a real boss. Um, what did I think about this episode? I will give it a some of the scenes I really, really like I said, I like the Harfoots. I like the scenes where Arendelle is fighting with, the orcs and the baby warg with his crazy looking eyes. I want one of those stuffed. I gotta have me a stuffed baby warg in my bed. Just just it was cute though. It was weird. It was weird, but it's weird cute. It's ugly cute. I would give this episode probably a 6.5 out of 10. I think episode 2, I like episode 2 a little bit better. Episode 1 was probably like a 6 out of 10. Episode 2, 7 out of 10. This is one 6.5, maybe 6. I think it got better toward the end. To be honest, I mean, having Numinor in it, period, makes it just elevated a whole point. That was a whole point within itself because it was beautiful. They really spent some money on this damn show. Like they spent some money. It's beautiful. It's beatific. They put a lot of detail in it, and I appreciate that. Somebody who's an artist, award-winning artist, by the way. I'm an award-winning fucking artist, by the way. I do digital art, but damn, like I'm not. I'm nowhere near these people. I'm a digital artist in a different form of a digital artist. These people over here who do CGI, I marvel at that because there's a technical prowess. I'm not a technical person. I know digital art and I can finagle some stuff together to make things look beautiful. But those CGI artists, they put so much work and time and talent. It truly is an art form within itself. Like when they do, I know they do special effects awards, but I really think they need to do more awards regarding CGI because CGI really makes all of these Marvel and DC and superhero shows. And they're really the unsung heroes of the movie industry. And they don't even make a lot. Like I know somebody who's a CGI artist that worked on the Avengers, like one of the many 400 or 500 people that worked, and he works for Weta. And I mean, they're working 12, 13 hours a day for just to make Hulk's foot look good. We're working on this scene where he steps in a puddle. It's just like, for how long you working on that? It's going to take us like, well, they need it now, but it's going to take us 3 days to make this puddle ripple and the leg look just perfect and the color and the lighting. I mean, that's art. You have to know lighting. You have to know color. I watch a lot of Corridor too. Corridor, I love Corridor because, like I said, I'm in love with CGI. That's something I've always wanted to learn, but I'm just a lowly digital artist who can't render. I'm not a renderer. I don't render shit. So I'm just I can barely follow what the hell they be talking about in Corridor. I'll be like, okay, yeah, okay. I don't have that level of technical expertise. I'm a self-trained digital artist. I took a digital art class and learned how to do it and clunked my way along and fell into art. I was like, I can make this. That looks okay, right? And somebody was like, that is fucking amazing. And I was like, oh, well, you should enter this in the art contest. Seriously? Who knew? In an art contest, and then I start winning, and then my stuff started being gallery all over the world. and locally first, and then all over the country and all over the world. So, but yeah, the CGI people, this show. I mean, I can't believe they spent $700 million on this fucking show, but the $700 million is just really basically the CGI. My problem with the show, I love Ismael Cruz Cordova. I love him. I absolutely positively love him. Lenny Henry's greatness. The one who plays Elrond, I don't. God knows I love. Okay, okay. I'm an Elrond snob because to me Hugo Weaving was great, but I wanted to see somebody play him that would bring like you don't have to be. Somebody was saying all the elves were ugly and they all have to be gorgeous. You don't have to be gorgeous. Hugo Weaving is not a really gorgeous person. Like he's a nice looking man, but not my cup of tea, maybe. But he has such a presence in Lord of the Rings. He has such a commanding presence that it don't really matter, that he's not like this, traditionally beautiful thing I would describe as an elf. Like I would see it, but he has a very commanding presence. A lot of the elves in here, besides Arondir, do not have a very commanding presence. Galadriel is very mean and very straight to the point and very driven, but I don't think she has a very commanding presence like that. And that's what I would want to see more elves with a commanding Celebrimbor, don't he? I'm like, is he 5,000? Why did they have? I understand the actor that they got is a good actor, good character actor. He's been in a lot of shit. But Celebrimbor, I'm like, is he? I didn't even know who he was at first. I was like, is that Elrond? Who's that? Who is this? Some council member? Like who? Oh, it's Celebrimbor. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I'm like, he's a little old and he's a little long in the tooth. I thought that's another choice. That was a choice. I was like, that's a choice I didn't quite particularly understand or get with, but that's a choice. They could have made Celebrimbor a little bit. Then some people was complaining about the elves having short hair. I just assumed when I was reading before the movies even came out, y'all, before the fan art, before the movies, when I saw the cartoons, yeah, okay, that's an aesthetic. I hadn't seen a cartoon in a long time. So when I was reading Lord of the Rings in college and The Hobbit, I just assumed that the elves had all different kinds of hair. I didn't automatically, like, people watch the Lord of the Rings movies and people have produced some stunning fan art, beautiful fan art with elves with long hair and very beautiful, men and women. I just assumed that the elves that was just an artistic, creative choice. I never thought really too much about the elves' hair, but I just assumed they had different hair like humans did. I thought some elves had long hair, some elves had short hair, some elves had shoulder length hair, some elves had no hair. Like, to me, some of the elves I pictured in my head canon had no hair. Some of them were bald. I never really thought like all elves should have long hair. I was like, is that a hill I'm gonna die on? No, I'm not gonna die on that hill. But people are really complaining. Well, I don't like the show because the elves have short hair, and that I'm just like, okay, so you're not gonna watch the show because the elves got short hair. Okay, that's a choice. Yes, if that's a hill that you want to die on, you die on that motherfucker. Because I'm not hating on no show because I don't like the hairstyle choices or the costume choices, but people wanted to see elves with long hair, and I just thought that elves just had different hair. I just thought I thought some elves were bald. Maybe because I played World of Warcraft. Like, I was a World of Warcraft person. So in my head canon, like, in my elf had short hair. Like, my elf was a chick that was rocking like a buzz cut. Like, I just assumed that like elves came with different hairstyles. So I don't have a problem with elves with short hair. I understand that eventually Amazon is going to sell merchandise and they want to separate themselves from Lord of the Rings movies. So I understand that the choice is beyond just an aesthetic or a creative choice. I understand it's a business choice as well, but that's every movie. Like, every movie is between the creative and the business. That's, people don't understand. Hollywood's a business. They are here to make money. They're not going to invest all this time and money and energy into intellectual property into TV shows and animation and books and everything just for them not to get no return, just for people not to buy it. People have to buy it. People have to see it. People have to want to subscribe. People have to be talking about it in order for it to work and to continue. You can have the most beautiful painting on earth. It could just be the most beautiful thing in the world. But if it's sitting in your fucking closet, who is that helping? How is anybody seeing your art? How are you as an artist getting your work out there? The point as an artist, me as an artist, I want my art to be seen by everybody. I don't want my art to be just sitting here up in my room like, oh, that's nice, that's beautiful, like that, and for my friends and family to come and look at. Come and look at my art I did. Yeah, oh, that's nice, Keisha. That's lovely. No, I want my stuff to be shown in galleries. I want people to interpret it and see it interpreted the ways that I didn't maybe think of, or they see something that I didn't really notice or I overlooked, or maybe they have suggestions like, you could have did this, you could have added this. A good point. I could have added this. I could have did that. Like the whole idea of like, um, art, whether it be visual or written, is up for interpretation and how you see things. So yeah, and then it's a business decision. I want to sell my art. I having it in museums and in galleries is nice, but also I want somebody to buy it and take it home so I can create more art. It's the financial and the creative coming together. Um, and when it comes together nicely and in a positive way, it can be something special. It could be something long lived. But yeah, the elves with short hair. I just don't like Elrond. The actor, he was in Game of Thrones. He played a young Ned Stark, and I loved him as young Ned Stark. But in this role, I like his character. I like the way it's written. I have no problem with the dialogue or how it's written or anything. Him as an actor and him in the role, it's not clicking for me. It's not. Like I said, maybe I'm blinded. And when I try to watch this show and House of the Dragon and Wheel of Time, I try to remove myself from the lore and remove myself. And when I'm watching, I'm thinking, as a casual fan, what would I think about this if I didn't know about this and this and this and this and this? So that's why I tell people, in order for you to enjoy things, you have to like take your ego, and sometimes your knowledge of certain things can enhance it, but then also it could take away from it. So I have to like be like, okay, if I was watching this and I didn't know the lore, would this even make sense? Or with this plot point, would I be confused here? Or is this very clear cut? Because when you're watching shows like this and you're making it for casual fans, they really have to spell out certain things. They really have to, hone in on certain things, leave other things behind. People are like, well, why are they focusing on this? Why is Galadriel, like I said, telling everybody, I'm Lady Galadriel, Orc Killer, blah, 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 first of her name, whatever, she was saying. I said, because people who are casual watchers of Lord of the Rings or have never seen this shit before, they don't know who Galadriel is. They're like, why are we focused on her? Who is this chick? They don't know who she is. Like, we know who she is. So yes, it may be monotonous to us for them to keep bringing up certain plot points or showing her fighting. Well, why she single-handedly killed a troll or orc or whatever. And I'm like, it's called character setup. It's called mood and tone. If you're a writer, you understand this. You understand that when you're doing a TV show, you only have a certain amount of time to set up character developments. I understand this is going to be 8 episodes and this is a whole season, but they only have a certain amount of time to set up. You have to let the audience, you have to show and tell who this person is and why we following this person and what level of skill or is this person just a regular person, or this person she's a bad bitch. So you have to show her fighting. You have to show, not tell. You have to show this. You have to show people creating a puppet about Galadriel. Like movies and TV is all about show don't tell, show don't tell. And so and then because we don't know the inner monologue of the characters like the books have. We don't know what the character's thinking. So all that has to be conveyed by the actors and the writing and the dialogue and the atmosphere and the visuals have to kind of tell that story. And I think a lot of people don't realize that either. I'm like, visual medium is not my thing. I couldn't write a screenplay or nothing to save my life. I couldn't write a play or nothing. I write, but this here to do a teleplay or do a screenplay and translate, that takes it takes talent. I don't possess. I don't or training, and I don't have either one of those. So not when it comes to writing for visual. But I think the show is going on the right direction. I kind of wish that they would have released everything at once, but I know that's not how Amazon does it. I know people were mad about that because of The Boys. I think they released like 3 episodes at once with The Boys. The Boys is another show that people love that I can't stand. I like The Boys, the the comic book. Like that, I love The Boys the comic book. It was subversive, it was mean, it was over the top, it was shock value, it was something different. And the TV show is nothing. Like I watched the first 3 episodes of the first season, I'm going, what is this shit? Who is like the characters? Yeah, are what I know, and the character design and the actors, I loved it. But the plot, I'm like, that's not how that happened. That's not how that went. What is this? What is that? What is this shit? I'm like, I tried to watch it 3 or 4 times, and people swear by it. I know lots of people that love The Boys, love it. Me, no, I know Miss Kiki. I've tried to watch it over and over again. It's not. It don't click with me. It just it's it, everything I love about the comic. They have had to dumb down and saturate and just make it more tame. And I understand why they had to tame things down because they can't have like rated X shit on Amazon. I get it, but and there's elements of it there, but to me, The Boys have changed too much for me. And I don't hate on The Boys. I don't hate on the creators of the show or the creators of the comic. Like, why'd you sell out? And why'd you? This show is very popular. A lot of people love it. Great. I mean, if people are loving it and then going back and reading the comics or discovering the comics, that's great. The Boys is not for me. I like the campiness and the grittiness and the over the top gratuitous sex and violence of the comic. But I know that for Amazon and for a TV show, it's not going to work. And I know that a lot of fans who like The Boys are just happy that they have a TV show that's really, really good. And a lot of people like. And a lot of people are happy with that. And that's okay too. I'm not hating on that too. But for me personally, it's just not for me. That's not The Boys that I liked. That's just the elements are not there for what I like. The same thing about this show. If you watch this show and you watch the first 3 episodes and you're like, I don't like it. This is not my thing. This is not made for me. I don't like how they've changed the lore. That's fine. I have no issues with people watching it and not liking it, or people watching it and thinking it's slow, or people who are casual fans who are like, I prefer Lord of the Rings movies. I prefer the books. I prefer the ride. I have no issues with that. The only issue that I had was just the people who, before it even came out, before the spoilers were released, and there are spoilers out there, and I haven't read any of them, or before the script leaks came out, or whatever. People, when they first came off the teaser trailer where it shows them like making the ring, and people thought that was cool. People were like, okay, we'll see how this is gonna go. And then the first like they had pictures to come out, like concept art. That's the term. Concept art came out, and the concept art came out, and people thought it was beautiful, and then people discussed it on their channels. All of that. It was. I didn't see a lot of negativity. There were some people who were like skeptical, who were like, I don't know, but I did not see a lot of negativity at all. I've been waiting for Rings of Power literally for about 3 years now, and so there's rumors that they were going to make a show 3 years ago, and there was always been some naysayers, but they were just like, okay, we'll just wait and see. The moment they came out and had the cast, show the cast pictures that were coming out, and they had that thing in Entertainment Weekly interviewing the cast and saying who's going to play who, and some characters left kind of ambiguous. The moment there was characters of color, then I started to see this is going to suck. This is horrible. Wait a minute, you don't even. We hadn't even got another trailer yet. We just had a teaser trailer and some pictures. And then they came out the original with the real teaser trailer with people. And then people are like, this is terrible, this is horrible, this is going to be terrible. I'm like, how is it going to be terrible? The reason why people were saying it was terrible is because they had 4 black characters out of like 10 white people or more than that. Or like, I don't even know how many characters they showed in those posters, teaser posters, but they literally had 4 characters of color. And so far, I can tell you that Muriel, she'll probably be in the next couple of episodes. I can't really see her character being in 5 seasons, but I don't know. They may or may not. I can't see that. Arondir, I see his character being a really big part of the show. And the actor has come out and said that he's going to be a major part of the show. No issues there. Durin's wife, Disa, people hated on that so hard, but now people are like, oh, I like Disa. I like her. I like her. But people hated on her hard. I doubt she's going to be in every episode. The star of the show is Galadriel. The second star of the show may be Halliburton, but again, he's a created character. But and then there's the Harfoot guy who's like the leader of the village, or the Seuss. I don't know what kind of role he has in the village. I doubt he's in there a lot. Like all the black characters, except for one, is and when I say black, let me put this in quotation marks. I should say characters of color. Because some of these people are biracial. Some of these people are not what I would consider like black. Like Lenny Henry is definitely black. But Ismael Cruz Cordova is Puerto Rican. He's Afro Latino. And then the chick that plays Muriel, she's a beautiful sister, don't get me wrong, but she's barely black. And the chick that plays Disa, but these are characters that's not like, 3 of them are not really gonna be. I can't see them being in 5 seasons of this shit. Like, I could see them being here and there, but not like every episode. They're not the main focus of the show. They're not taking established characters in the books and the movies and race bending them. Then I can see, but people saw 4 brown people out of, I don't even know how many cast members, and lost their minds. And then all suddenly, then I started seeing all the hatred of the show. And I'm like, why are people hating on this show when this show's going to suck? What? I was like, do you have like some script notes that I don't know about? Or do you know somebody that worked there? What do you know that I don't know? Well, we saw the pictures and the cast pictures. So elves aren't supposed to be black. So that's the hill. You're not going to watch the show, and you think it's going to suck because there's a black dwarf. The Hobbit dude, the Harfoot is definitely canon. Them being brown, that's canon. And they have one brown elf. When I was watching the dwarf scene, there was a couple of dwarves in the background that were people of color, but not a lot. And you have Muriel and Numinor, and the Numinorians, like, we don't really know all the Numinorians. People just assume that they all were white, but I don't. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't remember really them saying. They just said that they were men. I don't remember them saying that they were just all white. So for some reason, people think J.R.R. Tolkien's work excluded all brown and black people, and it's not true. Like, people see the movies and they see the fan art and they have their own headcanons, and in their headcanon, it's all white people. The elves, I think, were described as very light-skinned and ethereal. And somebody was telling me in the comments that elves, the word elf, or the way Tolkien got the word from, was from the word albino, which is albus, which means devoid of color in Latin, lacking color, devoid of color. But I'm like, the origin of that entire word, albus, was because in the 1700s, a Englishman who knew Latin, of course, they knew Latin, ran upon a tribe of African people who were albinos. Most of the people on the planet who are albinos, void of color, are black people, are sub-Saharan ancestry. 1 out of 5,000 black people, or people on the sub-Saharan ancestry, have albinoism. 1 out of 20,000 of European. So when you talk about albinos and albinoism. So I'm like, so technically speaking, the elves should be black, should be black albinos, according to that logic. If you're going, well, J.R. Tolkien studied, you know, cultures and anthropology. Well, obviously he didn't study. He probably could, but I don't know what he was thinking, because the first albinos were black people who were white, and people thought it was odd and strange, and people still do. But most of the albinos throughout history, regardless of what you see in TV and movies and everything like that, historically speaking, scientifically speaking, medically speaking, 1 out of 5,000 sub-Saharan Africans have albino. There's albinos. I have albino twins in my family that are my second cousins. It's a genetic defect that runs in my family. So I'm like, yeah, when they saw albinos, they were talking about Africans who were light skinned. They weren't talking about European people who were albinos. So I was like, so basically, Tolkien named elves after the word albino, after albinos who were African people. So I said, technically speaking, if you're saying that, if that is true, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know where he got the word from. I'm sure I can look it up. But if that's true, then the elves, technically speaking, should be black people. Should be all albino black people. I mean, technically speaking, if that's where he got his inspiration from, then they should have black features. And because they described the elves as having light skin. I don't remember, really not, I don't remember what the description of the elves features. I just remember them describing elves as being tall and light and ethereal, and having really, really, really pale, almost white skin. And some of them have, you know, really light white hair. And there's a subset of elves that have light hair. There's a subset of elves that have dark and red hair. I never knew. And in the books that elves are supposed to have sharp noses and look like Europeans. I have European features and thin lips. I don't know. Maybe there is out there. I don't know. But I'm not that into the entomology of elves, but it may be out there. But I mean, if you're just talking about them being void of color and having silver hair, dark hair, or blonde hair, okay, that's albinos all day. There's again, and most albinos are black, so are sub-Saharan African, I should say, not black. There's no such thing as black, but a sub-Saharan African. So a sub-Saharan African albino has yellow hair or white hair, and black, quote unquote, African features, but just no skin color. It's just a genetic defect of the pigment in the skin. So I was like, in my mind, thanks for proving my point. I guess El's supposed to be black. Black people with albinoism. I like, okay. I mean, if you want to get into the historical aspects, we can go down that rabbit hole. But I just take entertainment as it is, and not, I just get offended when people bring race and their own racial biases instead of just being honest about who they are, and just be like, look, just face it, you don't like black people. just come out. I mean, like, just come out and be honest. Stop hiding behind text purity or source material purity, and just be like, I don't want black people in this. Just be honest. I would respect a person more, and just if they would come out and say that, instead of bringing up it's based on medieval history, and then I have to break down to people, like, you do know there were black people in medieval. Like, if you take 100 medieval people, like people in medieval England, like if you gather a group of 100 of them, in average, out of those hundreds of European people, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 brown faces in medieval Europe. It wasn't an uncommon thing. It wasn't something anomaly, especially in Spain and Portugal. There was more Arabs and more brown people. There's brown people everywhere. There's paintings, medieval paintings that have brown people in it. You in the background, you're like, is that a black dude playing a horn in that 13th century painting? Why, by God, yes it is. Is that a black guy wearing a turban in that Spanish painting? Yeah, it is. People have done whole studies on medieval art that have brown and black people in it. It's out there. There's paintings out there. It's not a secret anymore. It's not. There's whole books. There's a book I have that's called Africans in Medieval Europe, It's not something weird. Like, it's just the truth. But people watch TV shows and movies and serials where they have Rome, and Rome is all white people. I'm like, you do understand Rome is very diverse. A lot of North Africans were in Rome. A lot of Africans were in Rome. A lot of Middle Eastern people were in Rome. There were Jews in Rome. There's a lot of different people in Rome. But if you watch TV shows, you never see that. It's just a bunch of white people with English accents with bowl haircuts. That's not accurate. I said history shows on TV and recreations and documentaries, recreations, they're fun. They're fun, but they're not history. They're not the real demographics of a lot of these places. And I was like, people traveled and people migrated, and if there was going to be a black person or an Arab person or Asian in medieval Europe, that person would have been a trader. They would have been a merchant. They would have been a businessman. Like, we're not talking about slaves. Like, before 1600s, people traded. They were interpreters. I tell people, I said, so you mean to tell me that all these people went to these different lands and they didn't have interpreters? Well, they didn't have guides? Of course they did. Like, they got native people and brought them back. You like I said, like for North Africa, like they would have North African guides, and then they would bring those guides back with them from North Africa, and they would live in their household, and work for them doing other things. Sometimes it's what I call sell swords, but that comes from Game of Thrones. But people who are swords for hire, that's historically accurate. Bodyguards. There are people that would have Moors and Africans as bodyguards for their middle. You were talking about upper middle class, wealthy Europeans that would have bodyguards from different countries that they would go to. Like, it just makes sense. Like, you're going someplace with a bunch of natives and you don't speak the language, you're probably going to have a guide, you're going to have an interpreter, and you're going to need bodyguards. You're going to bring some of your own, but when you get there, you're going to hire people. It's like racism is so illogical. Like, it has people suspend their logic of like how life was really went now and then. Things that really changed. If I go somewhere, I'm going to need somebody who's going to show me around. I'm going to need somebody who's going to speak the language. If I travel to Spain or Portugal, it's going to make it easier for me to have somebody to tell me where to go and speak the language for me. And if you're trading, you need somebody to deal and haggle with the people. You can do that, but they're going to look at you and know you're a damn foreigner. So you have somebody born and raised there that's going to help you. And you interact with people. And then another thing with people interacting with people and spending long periods of time trading in different countries, men get lonely, sailors get lonely. And guess what they're doing? They're knocking a booze, they're knocking the dust off it. And then next thing you know, you have children. And so some of these sailors and these merchants, they would, have relations. Some of these men weren't married. Some of them were married, and they would bring the kids back with them. And so, yeah, if you're out there in the West Indies and you're getting your groove thing on, and you have a baby, and the mama dies in childbirth or whatever, which 50% did, and you're like, okay, I'm not leaving my kid here, or maybe the kid doesn't have any other extended family. So a lot of these merchants took their kids back with them. If there's a story about Dido is a famous painting, look her up. But her mom was a Black African, her dad was a naval captain or admiral or some shit, and brought her back to live with him on his estate. This happened all the time. This wasn't something like, but you don't hear about it a lot. But it did happen. People had illegitimate children with all kinds of people in all kinds of ways everywhere. That's just life. Like, whenever you have men and women get together, there's going to be some knocking of boots, Gina. And like I said, it just, the idea that in medieval Europe, especially in Spain, Portugal, France as well, if you're going to have 100 Frenchmen, out of that 100 Frenchmen, there's going to be at least some mixed race people that are going to be there. There's going to be some Arab traders. There's going to be some even Asians, Chinese traders, went all over the place. There's the whole Silk Road and the spice the spice trade and everything. People had to bring that stuff on ships and caravans and horses. I'm like, what do y'all think? People just sat in Africa all day? Like, we just gonna sit here? Africa had their own countries and their own civilizations. So the medieval Europe argument is stupid. It's just stupid. It's for people who don't know history. It's for people who just learned about history in high school and college and was like, this is it. When it's easily Google. There's so much. We Googled it the other day, Africans in medieval Europe. If you just Google it, myriads of shit. There were black knights. Like I was like, what? I didn't shit that like I said, I didn't wake up one day and just knew all this shit. Like somebody had to show me the way. Someone's like, well, there's medieval people in Europe. I'm like, what? Because I was one of these people. Like there wasn't no black people around in medieval Europe. We weren't around then, and there were no black knights. And then somebody showed me the way and was like, come here, Kiki, let me show you this. And I read books, and I was like, holy shit, I've been lied to all my life. I didn't know any of this. Why aren't we taught any of this? History's been whitewashed. They don't focus on that. They don't care, And I was like, what? Like the first divers who would dive into the sea, and there's wars and there's naval battles in England between France and Spain and armadas. I tell people that, those ships, they blew each other up and sank. And sometimes the ship would sink with a bunch of treasure and gold and the royal families, jewels or crowns with money that they would give sailors to go barter with other countries. Sometimes these ships would get into battles, or they would just hit something and sink. And so all the money and the gold coins and shit would be on the ship. And I said, well, somebody had to dive down there and get it. I said, who the hell you think dived down there and get it? This medieval dudes, they didn't know how to dive. They didn't know how to hold their breath in water. So if you go online and Google it, the people who dove for the ship, there's writings from admirals, from ship captains about them hiring African divers, like specifically bringing them over and sponsoring them. Some of them stayed and never went back to Africa, but they would carry them all over to these sunken ship sites, and they would have them go dive, and they would take them like a month or so or more, and they would go dive, and they would bring up everything that they could, because they were the only ones they were known in their tribe for being able, they were deep sea fishermen. And so they would fish for oysters and all things at like the bottom of a trench. And they could hold their breath for a long time. And so they were in high demand. They would pay high dollar for these men to go down there and dive and bring up gold and jewels and everything else that their ship got sunk with. And I tell people that's something that people don't even know. Like, and then there are pieces in museums of whole mass of ships, whole pieces of ship. And then like on the plaque, it'll be like, blah, 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 this ship, this sunk, da, 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 da. And it doesn't even tell you that a lot of these pieces of these famous wrecked ships were brought up by African divers. And a lot of these African divers stayed in England and married English women and had biracial children, and nobody thought anything of it. It wasn't like, oh my God, look, there's a black person, Some of these small port cities, or no, I wouldn't say small, but some of these port cities, they had an influx of all kinds of diversity. So it wasn't too weird for them to see merchants and people from all over the world in England and Ireland. It wasn't really that hard to see, It was just kind of like, okay, we're a port city. There's going to be pirates. There's going to be soldiers. There's going to be sailors. There's going to be all kind of people coming in and trading, doing all types of things. So a very homogenized, all white England. It may have been in some parts of England, the smaller towns, the smaller villages, the smamer cities. Yes, but if you're talking about like London, you're talking about like Cambridge, you're talking about port cities. No, honey, that no. That doesn't hit. That it's not accurate. Like it's not accurate at all. It's just not. Especially during wartime. During wartime, it was a free for all. Wartime just brings all kinds of people. And so the Spanish had all kinds of people fighting with them, all kinds of Moors and Africans and on these ships. There were merchants. It's just people just dumb. Like just dumb. And then I tell people to look it up, and they don't want to look it up, because if they look it up, it'll shadow their fragile worldview. Like I don't want to look this up because it's going to shatter my mind, because everything I've been taught about history, then you be like, okay, you start questioning things. And that's how it started with me. Once you open your mind up to other things and you're like, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Like, I've never been told that. I didn't know that. I tell people, do you know the Filipinos in the United States fought a war? I'm like, and I sat there for 10 minutes going, wait, what? Like I've never, for someone who loves history, I had never heard that. And someone was like, yeah, American Filipino. I was like, when? What? Yeah. I'm like, huh? Yeah, there were soldiers, American soldiers in the Philippines. What? I'm like, why have I asked somebody else and they're like, really? I was like, yeah. They're like, why don't we ever? I went through my child's history book. I was like, okay, Korean War. I was like, there's no Filipino war in this damn book. But they lie. And I looked up online. I was like, holy schnaku. Yes, the Filipino United States fought a war. Never knew about it. And I'm American. I never knew about it. Some Filipinos telling me that. Yeah. I was like, when? Thinking of 1950s something. I don't know. But I was like, huh? Yeah. I'm like, okay, I know the United States was there, but I know they fought a real war. They're like, yeah. I'm like, damn, I felt dumb. I always feel dumb. But history is worth getting to know because it's just history. And then my computer's up there. I guess my last point is that I tell people like diversity and inclusion is a beautiful thing. I'm Black, obviously. I'm American. I watch a lot of American shit. I do a lot of American things. American all day. America, if yeah. But I tell people like there's only so much P Valley and Issa Rae shows that I can watch. Like I love my people. I love, watching certain TV shows, but eventually I'm just like, okay, there's too much chocolate on my screen. Like I tell people, if you're Caucasian, you have a problem with inclusion, diversity on your screen, and you feel like these people are replacing it. There's a lot of media out there that's just full of white people. There's a lot of TV shows and things you can watch where the cast are predominantly white. So next time you watch TV, count how many minorities you see on TV. Just start counting them. Start counting how many people of color, how many Asians you see, how many Black people you see, and write it down when you're watching your Netflix and your Amazons and Primes and you're watching your shit on YouTube. Count how many black people you see on these shows. Friends, start with the Black people first. Counting Black people in the ensemble and in the background. Look in the background of these shows. Start noticing. Just start counting Black people. Start writing them down. Now, if you're watching P-Valley or some shit like that, you're going to see lots of them. But I promise you, when you start counting, because this is what I don't count them, but I notice. This is what Black people see. This is how a lot of us see things. Like we watch shows and they're in LA or New York and you're like, there's literally I saw two Black people in the back. Like we subconsciously do it, all people, because when you're watching a show, you're really looking for yourself in a show. Most of the shows that I watch are not very diverse shows. Most of the shows that are on Netflix are not. I have to search out for that if I'm looking for that. But I can watch shows that are just with Black people. I can watch Power. I can watch all of that. But my point is, I tell white people, ain't y'all getting tired of watching shows with just white people? Don't y'all get tired of that? Like, I would get tired of watching shows. My late husband was white, was like, okay, there's just too many white people on this show. This is boring. I gotta watch it. I get tired. I can't, there's only so much shows I can watch with Black people. like eventually I'm just like, okay, there's too much chocolate on the screen. Like, okay, I can only watch Power and P-Valley and rap shit. There's only so much. I can't watch that all day, every day. There are Kenyan shows that I watch on Netflix that are dramas and stuff. They're very good, very well acted. But it's like I watch a bunch of Black shows and I'm just like, okay, I gotta watch a K-drama. I gotta watch some anime. I gotta watch Vikings. I gotta watch something else. So I tell white people, I implore you, like, is that your normal, that I just have to watch shows that is just nothing but just white people all day? Like, to me, that's boring. I don't want to watch Black people with Black shows on screen 24/7. I just don't. It's just not my thing. Like, it's just not. I want to see shows where there's different people living. I watch gay shows. I'm not gay. I watch trans shows about transgender. I'm not trans. I don't know any gay people. I don't have any transgender people close to me and in my family and friends. I watch it because I'm curious about people. I want to know I want to know what lesbians are doing. I don't know. I'm not a lesbian. I don't know. I want to see I watch K-dramas. I want to see how people in Korea do their shows and their Korean history. I watch Chinese shows. I watch Spanish channel shows and language shows with subtitles because I like diverse cultures. I like diverse things. I don't just like Black people or Black culture or American culture and American things. If that's how you roll, just own it and say that. But don't hide behind source material purity and historical purity. And J.R. Tolkien, he wouldn't even want this. And like, he's dead. How would you even know that? Like, so don't hide behind that when really it's just the fact that you want to watch shows and you want to see predominantly white people. But it's okay for black people to be in sports. Nobody's complaining about that sports needs diversity. No one's saying, "Oh my God, why is all these black people?" Because eventually, because at one time sports was all white, and then black people took it over. No one's complaining that black people are catching a ball or singing and dancing or rapping or stripping or shaking their ass on TV. No one's complaining that there need to be. Why is there so many black people in this football game? It's just amazing to me that no one thinks about that, because it's like, well, black people are supposed to sing and dance and entertain, but then the moment black people want to be world leaders, or they want to be in fantasy, or they want to be in sci-fi, or they want to be in this popular European show, then all suddenly people are like, oh my God, no, they're trying to replace us. What? Like, what? Well, then you should fight for diversity, and you should fight for diversity in sports, in rap music. There's not that many white rappers. So what? But you're gonna die hill on sci-fi and fantasy. That can't be diverse. You can't add. You can't have diversity. It has to be some agenda. I tell people, I am not an agenda. I'm a person. I like science fiction. I'm a nerd. I've been a nerd since I was 15. I'm 50. So I'm not some young kid. I've been there before there were Reddit groups and YouTube channels and all this shit. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid, and I wanted to see my little character look like me. I remember when video games where you couldn't select brown skin, where you would play role play RPGs and you couldn't select a brown skinned character. So I remember all of that. And then I remember when you could, and how exciting it was, because again, people like to see themselves in certain things. I wouldn't have any issue with the fantasy show with aliens or beings, and they're based on African natives, African motifs, and African look, and they're based on African lore, and they add 4 white characters in there. I'd be like, good, maybe this will bring more white people. Maybe white people start watching this show a little bit more. That's the attitude I think people should have. I want more people to watch what I love. So if this is what we got to do to bring people in, as long as they don't change the flavor of the show or the characters or make it overly political. Rings of Power is not political at all. It's not no woke nonsense at all. There's no liberal agenda in Rings of Power so far to what I've seen. None of that. People are just making shit up just to nitpick the show. I've never seen any of that in the show. So, but the point is, as fandom, I want people to love what I love. And so if I gotta fucking watch Wakanda and Black Panther, which by the way was created by white people, if I gotta watch that and they gotta add 3 or 4 white characters, if they gotta have an exchange program with Shuri and they gotta be like 2 black students and 1 white one, I'm not gonna flip the fuck out. Oh my God, there's a white person in Wakanda. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm not watching this. This is not how it goes. I get it. I'm like, okay, there's 3 background white people in Wakanda. I want to know, how did they get there? Well, did they choose to come to Wakanda? Did they marry somebody Wakandan? I want to know the backstory about that. That's how I feel about diversity and black shit. I watched P Valley. One of the characters is married to a white dude. That's intriguing to me. Brings a whole new level to the show. I'm not offended by there's 3 white people in P Valley. Like, oh, just like there's no white people live in New Orleans. Like there's no white people around black people. So, like I said, I don't the idea that there's just white people and this needs to be predominantly white, and then you add 2 or 3 black people and it just ruins the whole shit. That's just stupid. That means you have a bigot. Diversity and inclusion is not an agenda. It's not a political thing. It's really mostly a business thing. Really, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a business move. You got to have as many eyeballs as you can on your property. So, Rings of Power so far. I'll be back here next week. My computer's about to die. Y'all have a good night.